Okay, hey guys, this is Jay here. I'm recording another take on the VRAMr video. Um, the version, as of the time of this recording on May 18th, hasn't changed for VRAMr. It's still on version 14, which was released on April 10th, 2025. So hopefully that serves as some point of reference for you, the watcher, the viewer, using this as a guide. So I want to make it very clear before you proceed through the rest of this video. My videos are designed to educate as well as just show the basic steps. And first, I'm going to talk and provide pertinent information as to what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you should expect, and the things that could go wrong, right? So let's talk about VRAMr. What is VRAMr? VRAMr is an incredibly useful tool. It converts and compresses the images, or sorry, the texture files you have, which are denoted by the .dds extension, um, into what they call BC7 quick. And essentially, light, it's a lighter texture file that makes it easy for the computer to just scan the files and uh, provide that output into the video game as it's happening, right? A lot of the files and textures in a modless like Lorerim are typically compressed into what we call BSAs, um, and that saves space. But because all these mod files are not consolidated, as you can see here, it takes a little bit longer for the computer to read them, can cause stutters, etc. The other thing is that VRAMr, as I said, compresses the texture files. So if you are running a lot of high fidelity textures like 2K, 4K, maybe even higher, it compresses those into something that is a lot lighter for the computer to run. And that's the purpose behind VRAMr is to just create a more efficient tool, or is to create a tool that makes the process more efficient for your computer to read. And you could be doing this for a variety of reasons. For some, they're going to try to maximize the gains by sacrificing a lot. And we'll go into detail a little later when we run the VRAMr program itself. But essentially, you may try to take all the resolutions and not only convert them into BC7 Max, which would make it easier for your computer to read and output, but you could also be doing it because, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of visual fidelity, and I'm willing to take a lot of my 4K and 2K textures and bring them down to 1K, maybe even lower resolution textures. All in all, what you should expect to see is a reduction of stutters, and I think at best between 5 to 10 FPS increase. Because at the end of the day, textures aren't the only things that are making this mod list very tough to run, even on a really decent PC build. So let's just tamper the expectations right there and just discuss what are the facts. For reference, I have two PCs just upgraded. So I have my old one, a 4060 NVIDIA card, and then a new one, a 5070 Ti. The other one is an i7 core. This current 57 Ti one is a 9800 X3D. And I will tell you that in both cases of running VRAMr, the ultimate results are the same. No matter how great your CPU and GPU are, this tool is limited by what it does, which is all the things I discussed. It does not work miracles. So now that we've gotten those two topics out of the way, and we can all understand the baseline expectations to be gained from this tool, let's talk about what the potential consequences are. So the first consequence I don't have an example of, but I've seen plenty while assisting in the Discord chat, and that is corrupt textures. So typically it'll come out in the form of a corrupt .dds, and it'll be obvious because it'll show in the crash log of that the user provides, and then you know, it's like, oh, well, it could corrupt the texture, but when you turn it off, it just works just fine. It's typically VRAMr. It can ruin the cubic mapping, so basically, it adds shines where it shouldn't be. It'll change the colors because they're metallic colors, and now because they've been compressed and you've layered over it, they're not reflecting the true color. So like ores become red and scarlet, bright red instead of being whatever metallic color they should be. It can happen to furs as well. Let me launch Steam. And then the other kind is, again, won't cause crashes, but it's pretty catastrophic. Let's go to Skyrim here. And let's just pull up one of my screenshots. Okay, so here's a picture of the College of Winterhold in one of the chambers. And you can see all the walls are gone, all the floors are gone. It just ripped it right out, and voila, this is what you get. And you got to go back. Here are some floor tiles gone in Windhelm. These aren't it. These are. Let's just find another one. But I think more or less the point has been established. Oh, here you go. There's another area in the Winterhold College. No, it's not just area specific. This can happen to any textures. And so after you run these processes, you're just hoping that the game didn't screw up and that you don't have to go back and download these mods and then re-implement them, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, those are the negative consequences of VRAMr. But I understand that if you're watching this video, the consequences probably aren't weighing down on you. Surely they didn't deter me, but it can cause a lot of headaches, and that's something you should be aware of. So let's get down to then just getting this process started. So you're going to go ahead and find VRAMr. You go to Nexus and you type it in. Let me just refresh my page because clearly it's not loading. I have a feeling it's because Lorerim 4.0 just came out and Nexus is overwhelmed. So just bear with me here. But you're going to click Mod Manager Download. I'm not going to download it because you can see that through my computer right now, connecting to Nexus is very slow with probably thousands of users trying to get access to it. So you click download, and once it's downloaded, you go to your mod manager page, and then you find the VRAMr download here, and in this case mine is right here. Double click, and for the purposes of this, I will just call mine VRAMr demonstration. You can call it whatever you want. And I've already had it, so once it's installed, you can put this just about anywhere. It does not matter because it's a batch file program. We're not concerned about load order just yet, but where it's going to be safe, where you're always going to know where it's at, under the Rule 11s tab. Obviously, I have a lot more tabs than others because I just make some stuff. But yeah, you just click it, check it off, and good to go. And then you're going to go to Tools and Executables. You're going to click this little plus button, click from File, and then you're going to navigate to your whatever drive Lorerim's on. Mine happens to be on my C drive. Go to your Lorerim folder, click Mods, Date Modified, click to the time, and typically it'll be at the top, right? Because it's sorted by whatever, etc. So then you go to, in this case it's VRAMr demonstration, VRAMr, and get the batch file. Click apply, click OK, voila, it's there. And then when you click the drag down menu, you'll see it. Mine's only like this because I've tried to record this video a few times, so however many takes, this is where I'm at. It doesn't matter for you. You just need to see it at least once. So now we'll get into the specifics of what to do before you run the executable for the respective profiles. So default and ultra. Mine will look a little different from yours, but we just really need to hone in on a few things, okay? And the biggest thing we need to hone in on is my verbal cues. I realize my profile says Ultra James PBR Final, but I've reconstructed both profiles within this one to be as close as they can be. So just follow along, and we'll go ahead and start with the Ultra profile users first. If you're an Ultra profile user, you're going to go ahead to your separators tabs. These are the things called separators, and as you can see, they are kind of like chapters. You just open them, and they have a bunch of submods categorized under them. And there's two that you're going to open up, all right? Excuse me, sorry. The outputs and final overwrites, and you're going to open up flat world maps. And let's go through this. So I realize in my own mod tab that yours are going to be a little different. I've rerun all these resources. Yours are just, instead of James, because that just happens to be my name, yours are going to say Lorerim, right? So it's going to say Lorerim parallax gen output, Lorerim log gen output, Lorerim grass cache, Lorerim text gen output, and then Lorerim dindulod. Forget the fact that mine just says James. Yours doesn't need to say James, and yours and mine are the exact same thing. Mine's just a little bit more customized. All right. So I already have my VRAMr output here because I've already run it, but just you can ignore that as well. Obviously, you won't have it because you haven't run yours yet. All right. So when we're here, we're going to disable parallax gen output. So for you, Lorerim parallax gen output, Lorerim log gen output, Lorerim grass cache, Lorerim text gen, and Lorerim dindulod. Once again, mine just happens to have different names because I've run it again, but you'll just go ahead and disable these. Brilliant. Then you're going to go over here and you're going to go ahead and disable all the flat maps. Okay, brilliant. And so when you go down, once again, my plugin list is a little different, but when you go down, ignore the terrain helper. You won't see the flat world map stack, you won't see dindulod, and you won't see parallax gen. That's where you want to be, okay? That's the point at which you're ready to start running VRAMr for an ultra profile user, all right? So let's go down to default. Now for default users, same principle applies. You will open outputs and final overwrites. You will open flat world map and framework, but you will also now open do not touch default profile resources. For an ultra user, or sorry, for the default user, you should not see dindulod or TextGen in this folder because yours will be here. In fact, yours will actually be the thing that's hanging out in Rule 11. Do not enable them. Do not touch them. Those are for Ultra users. They are not for you because you have your own set. So just like as you would for an Ultra user, you'll disable Lorerim parallax gen output, Lorerim log gen output. You'll never touch grass cache. You should never enable it. You should never disable it. You should just never touch it. And you will disable Lorerim normal text gen, Lorerim normal dindulod. You can have these open. It won't make the difference because ultimately what will change is your texture resolution. You can disable them if you want. They're kind of redundant with VRAMr because ultimately you're compressing everything anyways, should you choose to do so. Alright, so hope it was very clear. Conceptually, things don't change for between an ultra and a default user. Conceptually, no matter what profile you're using, you're disabling parallax gen, you're disabling log gen, you're disabling text gen, and you're disabling dindulod. If you're a ultra user, you're also disabling grass cache, right? Like conceptually, it's good to go. And then obviously also for both users, you're disabling flat world maps. So we've done that. Now, if you're coming back to the guide because you've ran VRAMr before, which is going to be a lot of you, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to delete your VRAMr output. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete it because it will stop, the program will stop. It may rewrite it for you or rename the folder for you, but let's not go there. In my case, it has, right? It's right there. But regardless, the old file won't serve you any good, especially when you're doing a version update for VRAMr, as in you're going from like a previous version of Lorerim to another one. I'm only keeping mine so I don't have to run mine to show you what to do with the output once it's ready to go. So once it's ready to go, you can just go ahead and run VRAMr, right? You click the drag down menu. Ideally, you don't have 3 of them. Once again, I only have 3 because I've tried 3 takes at recording this, and so I've done this every time I record it. So it doesn't really matter, but it's going to be whatever you called it when we created the executable. All right, create run. All right, so this is what we get. So let's talk about the textures, okay? And let's separate it between the ultra and default users. For ultra users, what you should know is that Lorerim runs on 4K and 2K textures with a slight little bit of 1K textures. This is how Biggie has set up the texture structure. For objects with a large surface area, Biggie uses 4K textures. For objects with a medium-sized surface area, he uses 2K. And for small objects like eyes, they'll go down to 1K. Some of them might even have retained their vanilla level of fidelity. For default users, larger objects start at 2K. Objects with a medium surface area, 1K. And then once again, for small objects like eyes, it's at 512. What does this mean? It means that for a ultra user, going from the files that came with your initial install, which are 4K and 2K textures mostly, going to high quality can gain you some levels of performance gain at relative low cost to your visuals. For a default user, going to high quality would not be sensible. It will reduce the stutters, yes, because ultimately you're converting all the files and BSAs into BC7 quick. But if you're hoping to get dramatic gains, high quality is not doing anything for you when you're running default, right? When you're asking the question to me, what quality should I choose? I'm trying to help you come to a decision on your own. There is no right answer. It is simply the amount of performance gain you want to see at a loss of visual fidelity, right? And I am also trying to tell you that if you're a default user, doing high quality gets you nowhere. Because you're going from a 2K, 1K breakdown just to 2K, 1K breakdown. If you're a ultra user, the settings are your oyster. I will tell you personally, as someone with a very decent CPU, a 9800 X3D, and a pretty decent graphics card, 5070 Ti, and running at 2K resolution, I still go for quality. And the only caveat there is because of parallax. Typically lower than 1K parallax can cause some issues. All right, especially if you use PBR. Now, most of you, probably 99% of you, will not be using PBR. I happen to use it. I've rebuilt my Lorerim around that. So there you go. There are the nuances. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty of what to do. So I'm going for I'm going for quality because of the texture limitations in my own package. But you need to choose what's going to be best for you. And hopefully I've given you enough information to make that decision. Alright, so this is the initial thing. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink while this goes. I'm very sick, so I need to drink some water. Hopefully you can't hear the coughing. Alright, so after it does some thinking, it'll say select a drive route with at least 136 gigabytes of space. So there you have it. If you're doing Ultra, it's at least 136. If you're default, you need at least 88. What does this mean? It does not mean that's your permanent required storage space. It means that the whole process will consume 136 gigabytes or whatever amount of gigabytes of space while it's doing it, because it needs to pull all the textures, extract all the textures, recompress them, reformat them, etc. to deliver the final output. Final output you can expect is around anywhere between 16 to 30 gigabytes, depending on what you've done. So it says choose avoid C drive. Now, caveat, I only have a C drive, but I've set my permissions. So if you've set your Windows security permissions for your programs to do what they need to do, you will not have issues. All right? So I'm going to click OK. Now mine says PBR detected. Remember, that's just for me. I happen to be doing PBR. You're not doing PBR, it will not say it's detected. You're fine. You're okay. All right, the profile. So what we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to navigate to our disk where our Lorerim is installed. Mine happens to be the C drive once again. Lorerim, then profiles. I think what I count here are 7 profiles. If you've not done anything with your Lorerim install, you're going to only have default and ultra. Great. You're going to choose the profile that you're doing this for. Please keep that in mind. For me, it's going to be Ultra James PBR Final. For you, if you're running Ultra, it's going to be Ultra. If it's default, then it's default. Alright? And once you click this, the thing goes on run. And you're going to step away from your computer and take a big fat break, because this can take anywhere from an hour and a half to 12 hours. All right, and it all depends on your setup, your computer, your settings, and what you're compressing, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this because I've already run it, like I've said, and now I'm just going to show you what happens after you're done. When you're done, you'll know you're done because that prompt will say it's been done, press enter to exit. All right, and what you'll find is your VRAMr output. Now, it won't be called VRAMr underscore old. This is what it did so that it could create that other folder for me when I was running it for demonstration purposes. It'll just be called VRAMr or whatever you decided to call it at the end of the day. Okay? How you know it's the real deal is if you right-click properties on that folder, it should yield like 30 gigabytes of stuff. And there we have it, 28 gigs. And this is a real deal, right? If it's anywhere between 16 and 30 for Lorerim, I'd say you're on the money. I've never compressed anything to vanilla resolution, so that could even be tighter. You're going to go ahead and go into that folder, and you're going to find one that says drag and drop this folder into Mod Manager. Now, put very simply, That's exactly what you do with it. Where do you drag and drop it? Technically, it could be anywhere, but for ease and purpose, you want to find. Oh, let me just go. You want to find outputs and final overwrites, whether you're a default user or an ultra user, does not matter here. And you want to snap it right above parallax gen output. So I'm just always going to call mine James. You can call yours whatever. Output demo. Sorry, I hope you guys didn't hear that. I just had to cough. And you let it think. Let it do what it needs to do, all right? Don't trip out. Walk away from the computer if need be. Take a 5-minute break and come back to it and let it do what it needs to do. You're going to see on mine, because I'm not going to stop recording just to get this done. It's going to take a second. So I'm going to take a drink and might mute my mic because I kind of need a cough. Is there a way to do this without? Alright, I'm just gonna hopefully cough away. Alright, well, I try to cover up the mic with my hand and cough away from it. I'm so sorry that you had to hear that. Alright, so we have liftoff. And then regardless of whether you're a default or ultra user, you will enable VRAMr output, then your parallax gen output, then you'll enable your log gen output. And if your parallax gen is under log gen, just keep it that way. Yeah, mine's reversed because of different reasons. Grass cache, I probably should have said that before. God, I just don't want to record this a 4th time. I'm so sorry. Text gen, didn't do a lot. Oh, sorry. Not gonna enable these 3. My bad. My bad. Okay, so regardless of whether you're an ultra or default user, once again, you're gonna enable your VRAMr, your log gen, and then your parallax gen. If the orders are different, keep it the way it is in your Lorerim. My parallax gen has to be in front of my log gen for specific reasons, just for me. But in the end, these are the 3 that you're going to update or you're going to enable. And then now, if you're an ultra user, you're going to enable grass cache, text gen output, and dindalot output. Don't just enable them together because you want this thing here. And then for you, you should be able to see occlusion as well on the bottom. That's good. I have mine disabled. That's just a James preference or J preference. All right. If you are a default user, you're going to go ahead and doesn't really matter if you enable these because most of your textures will already be compressed to 1K and 2K or 1K, 1K, or depending on whatever setting you've chosen. Hopefully you did what was best for you. So there is no point in enabling these. And then you're going to enable, we should have never disabled performance plugins if you're on default. So you're just going to go ahead and enable Lorerim normal text gen and normal dindalot. And then for all users, you're going to go ahead and finally enable flat world maps. All right. So hopefully this video was more comprehensive, was a little better structured, was a little more to the point, and wasn't as confusing. I just had a slight hiccup at the end, but that's my bad.